Hello Targar friends, hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for another Orc Mode workout. And for those of you who watch these videos every time, if you guys would please just reach down and click the like button if you watch these, it would be greatly appreciated. And if you guys have noticed, even though some of you have started doing that, you'll notice the same guys who hit the dislikes continue to do so even on these training clips, mainly because they're just jerks and they don't have lives. So if you guys could just please click that to offset it, if you actually watch these videos, I would greatly appreciate it. But today was Dynamic Effort Bench Press Day, and today we did 10 triples. This is the final week in the wave. Now, we obviously missed this last week because it was my deload half week, and so I had to finish the wave today. So I actually went about 10 pounds lighter on the bar than I would have, and about 10 pounds more chains, mainly because I feel like I just need the extra speed from it. My benching isn't as fast as I would like, and sometimes the third wave isn't that fast, but as I got into it, it was surprisingly fast near the end. Now, it took me several sets to get into my groove, but I would say the last 5 or 6 sets, it was actually really, really fast where I wanted. So I may not need to worry about that moving forward. I just have to learn to get my bar path down now that I've gone back to the close grip. And with the close grip, you notice I'm so much more faster and more powerful, and so that's the reason we're doing that. My shoulders feel tremendously better. That's one thing I didn't talk about a lot on here, is that I started feeling like the wider grip was not only weaker, it was chewing up my shoulders. And what it is that I have said for many, many, many years, that I was always a close grip bench presser because I feel like it's easier on your shoulders. And even if you bench less, it doesn't matter. Well, I've always been better at it, and there are other guys out there who are the same way. I think you guys would be surprised at how many 600 plus pound raw benchers are actually medium or close grippers. Not as unusual as you might think. So it doesn't make me feel so bad about it. So it lets me know I need to just go ahead and just go with what I know has worked. I know I've benched really well in my 20s, even with a close grip. So we'll move forward with it, and I just have to keep training my triceps. And that's what we're doing today. We're specializing in triceps. I know that my bench pressing and my overall upper body strength is limited by my triceps. You guys can look at me and tell. And look at my whole upper body. My triceps are my weak link. And I'm a tricep dominant bencher. So that's the only way I'm going to push past the mid 300 to get on the bench, is to train my triceps. I mean, keep the programming on point with this stuff, but tricep work. Tons of it. And I'm going to have to develop my entire tricep. I'm going to develop it through every plane of motion, every joint angle. It's going to have to be built up. I mean, obviously it's going to be geared towards benching, but I just need bigger triceps. Bigger triceps. But, again, this went pretty well, and it felt good, no shoulder issues, and I felt like it took me about 5 sets to get into my groove. Like, from here forward, I think it looks really good. I've got the bar path down, so I'm getting a feel for benching close grip again. But, I mean, that's nice and fast there, and then it gets faster near the end. And for those curious, they're like, well, how much weight is that? It's obviously 155 on the bar, and I'm running 94 pounds of chains. 94 pounds of chains. So, I mean, it's not super heavy. I mean, obviously, because it's speed work. And that's the thing you'll occasionally have come through here. I'll see someone come through and say something like, well, I'm stronger than you, and they'll see my speed work, and you just go, I squat over 500 and I deadlift 600 pounds. And they don't realize that when they see the speed work because of the light weight. But, it's speed work, guys. It's supposed to be light. I actually run 40, 45, and 50% of my 1 rep max on the bar through my waves. And then we add 25% of our max in chains or bands on top of it. So even then, I mean, it's obviously a weight that even if it was all barbell weight, I could do 10 reps with, which we've seen on the normal days. Because I'm going to start doing some sets of 10 on my main lifts on the max effort days, just because I need the extra training volume. But the speed work was good today, and we go to bands next week. And I feel like bands do more. I like bands more for speed work. I think they bring a little more to the table, but the problem is that bands can beat you up. And you don't want to train excessively with bands. But if we were to talk about what brings a lot to the table, I think band training is probably superior to chains for at least dynamic work. At least for dynamic work. But after all the benching, we did banded dips again. Now, I went to the next band up. I used my Rogue Red band last time. This time I went to a blue, which is a, 10 pound heavier band. It's 10 more pounds of band tension. And Some of these felt easy till I learned to get the band a little better on the 5th set. Then it was fairly challenging for 10 reps. Now, I probably could have cranked out more, or they felt easy early on, but again, we went up in weight, and next time I'm going to have to do it as a further exercise deep, because on max effort day, I'm doing a bunch of close grip pressing after my max. Then we do these. So I'm going to keep it constant. I'm not going to try to go up next time. I'll try to see if I can use this same band again after close grip benching for 5 sets. But it felt a little better today. You know, I felt like I got a little bit more tricep on it today, at least on the 5th set. Because before I said I don't really feel much tricep, even though it should be. It felt like a chest exercise, even though we know the triceps are getting activated very, very heavily. I mean, the dips are already very tricep heavy, and I'm using quite a bit of tuck at the bottom. But I felt it more in my chest. I think it's because the bands give you that stretch reflex, and that really activates the chest. So I'm not going to complain. If I've got a tricep exercise like this, that's a big tricep exercise that works all 3 heads, and we're using a variation that should make the triceps work harder, but I still feel my chest, I'm not going to complain, because that chest will help me with overall development. It'll help me with bench. But we know we're getting tricep work here, whether we feel it or not. But we go through and we make sure. That's why we do all these other exercises. It's a lot of tricep work today. So after my speed bench, we did 15 total sets that should be hitting my triceps. So we did these, and actually if you notice the band position there, it's actually a little more tension on the band. This was a little more challenging, and that's really where I need to try to get that band every time. It's where I need to try to get it. But you want to talk about a good exercise. I mean, this is an exercise that I really feel doing a lot. We all know that dips are great. We know that working against bands is great. It's just a fantastic combination. And even though it's one of those exercises where maybe you don't feel maybe that burn that you might think that you should feel a certain way, you can tell that it's doing a lot of work just biomechanically. And I like it. It may be a mainstay. Then we did JM floor presses. And on these I just focused on work. I've got a better hand position now. I feel like it gives me the best position for getting the bar above my throat. I'm not really always pausing at the bottom because I just want to get in and get the work done. And because I'm using a heavy weight, it's kind of hard to pause right now. 145 pounds for JM presses. Fairly challenging for me for a bunch of sets of 10. The first set's usually easy. Usually that second and third set, it starts to get real hard. And I started having to spread my breaks out. I couldn't do like 1.5 or 2 minute breaks. I had to start spacing them out to like 3 minutes, 4 minutes just to complete my sets. But again, we got a lot of tension in there. And this carries over specifically to the bench. So if you think about it, this exercise will build your close grip bench up. It will build it up, particularly as far as the tricep side goes. Obviously, you're going to use a lighter weight, and it's easier to recover from than a close grip. But we get this dead stop from the bottom, or at least to some extent because of the floor press variation. And again, it works the triceps in a way that's going to really, really carry over directly to the bench press because it works the tricep in the same manner, which means it's a lateral and medial head dominant. The long head gets obviously secondary activation. You know, and that comes up a lot. People will say, well, if the long head's getting secondary, does it build the whole tricep? Sure, because if you're doing a lot of volume, it does. I mean, the long head still gets worked. It just doesn't get emphasized. But we have other exercises doing that. We know dips work all 3 heads of the tricep pretty effectively. Then dips against the bands, again, kind of a new beast. So that's going to do it. And then my next exercise actually should work all 3 heads. Now the next exercise is really going to hit that medial head hard, which we really, really need for the bench press. But it will actually get the long head decent also. It's an all-around good exercise, which is why we're doing it. But again, we have 3 very tricep-specific movements here. Obviously, the dips are going to work chest and stuff a lot just as well. So we're getting chest activation to go with the bench. And the same thing, you know, with the front delts and everything. And this hits the chest to a smaller extent. So I would count even speed work as maybe half sets towards everything. People could argue that it's less. So it really gives me the equivalent of about 10 quality sets for my pecs. And then we get about 20 real sets for triceps, assuming we want to count the speed work towards triceps. If we don't, I got 15 good work sets. 15 good work sets of 3 exercises. Hitting quite a few different angles. And that's a lot. And normally I would say that's ridiculous for most people, depending on what you're doing. But I've got a really high work capacity. I'm on 4,000 plus calories a day, which is my maintenance. I have access to unlimited rest to make my own schedule, so to have a couple of muscles that you hit that hard is fine. That's perfectly fine. And for me, it's going to be stuff like my hamstrings are going to get trained really, really, really hard. Hamstrings, glutes, triceps. Now, I had said before, people are like, what about grip? Well, that's different because I get done with my other stuff because I do 100 chins every day. And I've started adding face pulls every day. And then most days, a lot of days, I do a little bit of pinch block work afterwards. So the grip is getting a lot of work anyways. But as far as the main training sessions, triceps are going to be #1 priority. Then right behind it right now is going to be glutes and hamstrings with a heavy focus on hamstrings because that's what I need. Then these chain rolls, I just took them to failure. I didn't even really count. I think I got about 14 reps on the first set and maybe like 9 on the last one, but I pretty much hit failure. You can see me hit failure on everything after the first set. But these rollouts with the chains, it's phenomenal tricep exercise. So if you want something that's really going to work your triceps super hard, that's very, very, very easy to recover from, this is a winner. And I made a whole video that's coming out on that as to what's special about this. But it's just so easy on the tendons. So you can do large amounts of training volume. And so if you take something like this, and we do it at the end after all this other heavy pressing, it's very easy on your tendons at the elbows. We don't get tendonitis and inflammation from this, which is usually our biggest fear from higher training volumes. All right, this is going to be kind of my little secret weapon here just to keep my triceps growing because we're doing a lot of big, heavy movements for them with a lot of volume. But this is easy on the tendons, and it lets me go in and just directly hit the tricep. And it's going to hit all 3 heads. I would say the biggest focus is going to be the medial head at this point, which is, again, that inner head down there near the elbow, which is critical for benching. And if it gets neglected, your bench could suffer. But it actually does work all 3 heads very, very effectively. And like I said, in a way that's easy on the elbows, very easy on the tendons, which means, again, we can recover from it fairly easily. But it's just a beast. I mean, this is one of those exercises that if you really want to like feel your triceps later after you're done, I just notice it when I do these, I get like this dull ache. It's not what you think of always the same pump type feeling, although you get that. It's that you know when you finish 20 minutes later, you still feel your triceps. This triceps is just like this little dull throb all the way through the tricep. So it gets in really, really deep. It works pretty much every muscle fiber through there, particularly if you've done other work first. So it's just a great exercise. And like I said, it's easy to recover from on the tendon side, which is what we need. And so we'll see where we're at. We'll see if all this tricep work is paying off come Monday when we go to max out. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.